I'm at a lake. It's very dark. I'm 15 years old and I'm at the lake, and the only thing I see is the full moon, the reflection of the full moon on the lake. We're like 20 guys in a sand pit. Boys, girls, adolescents, 15 to 17 years. I'm 15 years old. Behind us, in front of the bushes, there are little motorbikes. And in the center of the sand pit, a campfire. 1 year earlier, Guns N' Roses, they published Appetite for Destruction, their super album. And we're all listening now to Paradise City. Paradise City, it feels like Paradise Lake. We're sitting there, have beer. In Germany, we drink beer very early. And I'm there, and next to me is a girl. Blonde hair, shoulder long hair. She's cute. She's slim, she's cute. And I lean over to her, and her nickname is Bean. Bean, like the beans, weird name. And I look at her, and I lean over and give her a shy kiss next to Paradise City, the motorbikes, the full moon on the lake. That was one of the best moments in my life. Because that moment is a moment of absolute freedom. And that is the power of stories. Welcome you all to a 5th edition of this Q&A session on public speaking today. Everything about storytelling. I see we have now a couple of people here. Yeah, man, welcome. Ask me any question about storytelling stories, because this, of course, is for me the most important content element you could ever use in public speaking. Is there anyone who these days, in these difficult days, does never watch Netflix or Amazon Prime or any other movie or any other story, reading books? It's all about stories. And in public speaking, do people tell stories? Especially in business presentations? In Banco Santander? Oh, no, I cannot say that. This doesn't matter. Any other bank is exactly the same. I worked in 32 sectors who tell stories. In my trainings, the first thing in the morning is I ask them, so what are your expectations? One expectation. I drill them down to one expectation, one only. And then they come and they say, yeah, I want to be diddle doodle doodle doodle. And the next one says, I want to diddle doodle 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 doodle. And the third one, I'm here to do diddle doodle 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 doodle. No one ever says, when I was 8 years old, they put me on stage in my grammar school, in this gymnasium, the sports hall, and I was Dracula in a play at school, and I forgot my text. Do you know how it feels when the entire school looks at you and they think you're a dumb fuck? I'm here to overcome my stage fright. That's my objective. Nobody speaks like that. It's amazing. So 6 people, come on guys. Do you have any question for me on storytelling? This is not a monologue. I can talk for 1 hour. This is a half-hour session. I could talk though for 1 hour consecutively. Can you ask me questions? This is a Q&A. I have the feeling, it's the 5th time, guys. I really have the feeling that you think this is a monologue. This is not a monologue. I can drink wine. I can talk about books that I recommend, like this book, Today It Arrived. Despite all odds, Today It Arrived. My friend Francisco Mafus from my Toastmasters club in Barcelona. Toastmasters, my speakers club. Prestigious speakers, Barcelona. This guy is amazing. Francisco Mafus, he's from Brazil. And the first thing he did, because he wants to become a pro speaker and trainer. So what everybody does is they start with test trainings and they do stuff. No, Francisco does it the other way around. First he writes a book and then he becomes a pro speaker. That is amazing, Francisco. I could talk about Bear. Wonderful book. I will read it now, but I know something of it. Very story-driven anecdotes. Oh, Maura, thank you. Good afternoon, Barcelona. Good afternoon. Where are you, by the way, Maura? Are you in Dublin? Oh, I don't want to. No, you were in this other town, right? You did the conference that I did not attend. Oy. Maura, do you have Cork? Exactly. How was the conference? No, this is not about Cork conference chatter. Maura, come on. Keep hope alive. Do you have any question on storytelling? Anything goes, guys. I have here my notes, that's little notes. That's just in case you don't say anything. But I don't want to, when I teach all the time in my trainings, I teach at ES Business School together with Con O'Neill and my friends, Tobias, Tony, John, teaching all the time. I can talk, but this is not about talking, guys. Any question on stories? That will be amazing. That wouldn't be amazing. That will be amazing. Man, you're such an interactive audience. This is best way to start a story. Here we go. Now, Job. Hi, Job. Woo! Nice to have you here. First time. Great to Job is from Barcelona. It's EDEB. It's an amazing design school. EDEB, Barcelona. But let's go with the first question. Maura O'Brien from Cork in Ireland. Best way to start a story. How do all stories start? How do all fairy tales start? Fairy tales start. Once upon a time. The best way for me is to indicate that this is definitely a story is you start with a moment in time in the past. And I know there are two ways, but the first way is the moment in time in the past. For me, three ways to do it. First, 20 years ago. Barack Obama starts any speech like this. 20 years ago. Once upon a time. When I was 15 years old. Once upon a time. On the 23rd of October, 1973, the sun was smiling. I was born. A date is also a moment in time in the past. So when you indicate once upon a time and make a pause, I always make a pause now. When I was 15 years old, let them think. Don't step on the thought of your audience ever. Let them think. When I was 15, how old is he? How old is he? Yeah, maybe he's 50. Is he 30? He's 40. I'm 46. So that was 31 years ago. So that always indicates that a story starts. Job. Now, how do you know when a story is good enough to be told? Job. Oh, I heard that so many times. This doubt. Is my story worthy enough to be told? What connects with people? What people can identify with? What's really cool for people is the simple stuff, the small things, the everyday events, the being with friends, age 15. This is how I started today. At a lake and feeling like freedom. It's the small things that connect the most with people. So any story you have in your life is definitely worth being told. Now we go to my client friends from Munich, Ippen Digital Media, an amazing media company. Hey Flo, how does storytelling go about the coronavirus these days? How do you communicate with people who are already fed up with the news? Cheers, Andreas. Andreas, you are sales and I know it, and this is a sales question. A tricky, mean question. Now, just a second, because this will happen once in a while, Andreas, and everyone in a while. Our doggy is eating the bone and it makes cracking sounds. It's a live session, guys. Get used to it. Have 1 second. I take away the bone. It would be really nice. Woohoo! I'm back. The bones. Yeah, that sounds like a T-Rex when our golden retriever does that. Yeah, that's very funny. But that's live. Okay, exactly. Back to you. More interesting than this, the thing about stories right now about Corona, because we are so fed up, because they're everywhere, will be the stories in the future to be told about this. That is interesting. So I can only tell you as a speaker, I can give you an advice. Write down stuff. Write down how you feel. Write down when you feel lonely. Write down when you're fed up being home alone. Write down all your feelings. Write down moments. Write it down, because in the future, these are the stories, the gold nuggets to tell. Right now, you're in a media company, Andreas. What can I say? You nurture this whole thing, don't you? What else about stories? Oh yeah, Maura, back to your thing. Best way to start a story. Now, the one way is to start with a moment in time in the past. Once upon a time. This is when people just know this is it. This is a story coming. The other one is in media res. In media res. In the middle of the things, Latin. You start like this. It's dark. You see, now you're listening. Story starting, in media res. Nadine Meisel, Nadine, you're really regular here. Welcome. Another session, Nadine. Nadine, do you recommend to tell real stories you lived in first or third person and in past or present tense, or switching? This is one of those. Yesterday I told you in number 4 of these sessions, number 4, I told anyway, she is the biggest mind twister in the universe. This is question in one question. Nadine, first question. Real stories you lived in first or third person, always first person. Did he say he has a dream? By the way, when you speak in third person singular, there's only 2 effects for an audience. First effect, you are arrogant. I wouldn't say that for you. You're really, really humble, Nadine. Second effect, you're impersonal. Even worse. Arrogance or impersonal. These are both enemies for the speaker. You want to be as personal as possible. You always want to have your dream yourself. I have a dream. He has a dream. Second question. Past or present tense. Well, when I started this session today, you can see, if you have not joined it before, go back and watch it later on. I started with a story, personal story, and I tell it in present tense. This is the historical present tense. The historical present tense we use as speakers and writers, I also write, to get the people into the climaxy scene so they can really, really live it with us in the moment. The effect goes down if you do it all the time. There is no rule. The golden rule in public speaking is there ain't no rule. There ain't no rule. But I think it's always very cool to start in past. Then when action starts, you go into present tense, historical present, and then you go back to the past. Golden rule is there is no rule. Hello everyone, Alba. Today's story is about, I have dyslexia. When I was young, my mom always gave me puzzle games. You know puzzles? Alvaro right now, because he cannot leave his home, he's 30 minutes away from here, we cannot meet. He's 13 years old, now he plays puzzles, a 1,000 piece. My mom gave me always puzzles. You know when you have dyslexia? I have dyslexia. I always would write S-C-H, S-H-C. I exchanged letters. With puzzle, no problem, you focus. But of course, I didn't want to say story. Ask me a question, Albert, about stories. That's the point. Maura, any more question here? Job, Andreas. Wow, it's great to see you all here in the talk. In the meantime, when the world goes down, drink Spanish wine. This is Enate from Aragon. It has a bit of a desert taste from the mountains. Weird. Cheers. Yeah, you too. Are you at home, Andreas? Okay, new guys, new luck. Alba, questions on storytelling. There's so much to ask about stories. How can you not have questions on stories? This is amazing, man. You know this book? I cannot believe it. I finally bought it 2 months ago. I still haven't started, but I know the concept. Nadine Job has one. Job, should we give names and describe the characters in our stories, even if that means slowing down the narration? Should we give names and describe the characters in our stories, even if that means slowing down the narration? There is one pattern in public speaking, is one of my absolute favorite enemies. I call it meta talk. Those who have been to my training, like Andreas here in the group, they know meta talk. Meta talk is stuff that makes no sense. Let me share with you a little anecdote. Let me go back to the beginning. I want to conclude. Well, conclude, go back to the beginning, tell me the fucking anecdote. All the time we use meta talk to tell people what we're telling. We are filling in so much noise into our speaking. When you take that out, Job, you have all the time in your life to bring characters to life. You must bring characters to life. There is no option for that. One of my favorite speakers in the world, Mark Brown. Mark Brown right now in Central Georgia in the US. Mark Brown, 18 years old, left Jamaica with $40 in his left hand and a suitcase in his right hand. And, oh, that I should have done the other way around. Always mirror. And he went to the US, to Georgia. And he went to schools for 30 years, and he inspired African-American children to keep going on with their education in schools. And Mark Brown is one of the best speakers. In 1995, he won the World Championship of Public Speaking in Toastmasters.org, Toastmasters Speakers Club. And he's one of the best for me. And he's such a great storyteller. And I have him sometimes as a coach. Today, by the way, my new book, 102, will be online on Amazon, but I never do advertising, so I will not even mention 102 visual tips for more simplicity in public speaking. No, I don't mention it, but he wrote the foreword. And Mark Brown, in one of the coaching sessions, with his big white teeth, with his bow tie, and with his super smile, with his radio voice, sounds like Luciano Pavarotti, he said, "Florian, I read your script. Any character you introduce into your story, bring them to life." Any character you introduce into your story, Job, bring them to life. Why do we do that? You asked me just now. You thinking you're losing time. I think I gain connection with my audience. When you bring your people to life, with names, with looks, with personality. He's a cool cat. Yeah, he's sometimes a little bit choleric. You know, she is this funny girl who could show her emotions sometimes more often. She is amazingly successful in what she does because of her big heart. You know, when you bring them to life with name, look, personality, then I can connect. And connection is so much more important than losing time, which is gaining connections. You never lose time, Job. You win connection. Alba, how to know if I'm describing too much in a story? Yeah, that can happen. Less is more. Okay, the thing with speakers is, with us, I mean, for 15 years, hobby speaker, 10 and a half years professional, I always think people know everything. And of course, they don't, because I work so much with all these subjects. And even if you know the 6-word story now of Ernest Hemingway, my great writer, I love Ernest. Even if you know the 6-word story of Ernest Hemingway, for the rest in the world, the myth says he was challenged by a guy in a Cuban bar. Funny thing is, did you know that Cuba Libre was already called Cuba Libre when Cuba was still Libre? Well, of course, we could argue that the mafia owned Cuba before. But okay, that apart, the myth says he was challenged by a guy, and then, of course, he said, Ernest, you're the short story guy. Write a short story in 6 words on this napkin. And the myth says he put down, for sale, baby shoes, never worn. Alba, I think the secret is to use much more pauses and to say fewer words. But we have to describe stuff. But you can describe stuff with few words. You know, once in my training, a guy says this, and I think that was fantastic. Fantastic. He said this, first sentence. You know, at the beginning of a story, you have to describe the situation. Where are we? People never do that. Where are we? And he said, I grew up in a yellow house with 4 families next to a highway. Beat that. I grew up in a yellow house with 4 families next to a highway. He gave us 3 tiny little elements. And I saw the dirty laundry. I heard the noise. I saw his entire youth. Less is more. Ludwig Mies van der Rohe, Bauhaus god, German-American architect. Knew it already. Always say less and you will communicate more. Nothing new about that one. Guys, we have 8.5 minutes left. Another question. Woohoo! This is starting to get fun. Nobody has a question about the hero's journey? Now that's interesting. Okay, Nadine, what do you do if you get lost in your amazing story and notice you will run out of time before getting to the climax? Well, that's the same in sex, isn't it? Shouldn't say that. What do you do if you get lost in your amazing story and notice you will run out of time before getting to the climax? Is there a shortcut in public speaking? Those of you who do it, they know there isn't. Those of you who watch this and think there is, I watch a video, I read a book, I read The Hero with 1,000 Faces, know The Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell. Man, this is so easy. I'm going to do it now. I'm going to tell stories. Public speaking, chupado in Spanish. It is not. There is no shortcut. You have to do it, sit down, get feedback. Do it, sit down, get feedback. Do it. I could do that now for 10 years. I've been doing that for 15 years. They asked me, do you still go to Toastmasters meetings? I said, how could I not go to Toastmasters meetings? Are you nuts? This is my personal R&D department. My God. You get a feeling, Nadine, with the time. I now have in my head a feeling when it's getting too much. And I automatically, you don't have to say everything. Do you know that people never miss anything you don't say? Okay, this is a big phrase. Just don't let it drop like this. Do you know that audiences never miss anything you do not say? Took me so long to understand that. I always wanted to tell everything and the story and everything and the last detail. No, they don't need it. And in storytelling, what you want to do sometimes, on purpose, is leave holes of imagination. Holes of imagination. You don't want to say it. There's a lady in my training once, and she explains the story about her being, just a second, Alba, she's saying, yeah, I'm in Bangkok, and imagine, 20 years old, Bangkok, backpacking with a backpack, a girl, a lady, 20 years old, $10 in her hand, $10. The credit card didn't work. She has no friends, no family in Bangkok, the city of Hangover, the movie, amazing, 20 years old, in Bangkok, alone, girl, wow. And she tells, and she's panicking because the credit card doesn't work. And then she says, yeah, but in the end, my father called the bank director in my village next to Stuttgart in Swabonia, and then the cards worked again. Ugh. Nadine, you don't have to say everything. Leave holes of imagination. Let us suffer. That's the beauty. Tarantino style. Okay, Alba. Does the hero must be somebody else but me? So for those who do not know the hero's journey, because Alba now refers to the hero, and I ask this question always in my trainings in 15 countries for 10 and a half years. Guys, not everyone knows the hero's journey. In my personal statistics, my research, ask and always, more or less 10 to 20% know about the hero's journey. That goes back to Joseph Campbell, 1949, The Hero with a Thousand Faces. And I promise I'm going to read it now. I know all the concepts, but I have to read the book. The hero is not a hero yet. He's at home. You know, like, let's take Frodo. He's at home in the Shire and happy. This is the comfort zone. Home is the comfort zone. It's also happy doozy. They drink and there's beer and fireworks and they eat a lot and ha ha ha. We are the hobbits. It's also cool, but he has to leave it. It's a journey. The journey starts with a big challenge. A big challenge. There's something happening. Now he enters. Frodo enters the journey. The challenge is the ring of the rings has to be destroyed. Then he continues, struggle, orcs, more orcs. Where do all the orcs come from? And then, of course, somewhere on the line, the climax, the ring falls into the lava, Mordor, flat. But that is not the most important one. After the challenge and the struggle comes the lesson learned, the annotation, the lesson learned. And that I call inspiration for the reader, for the audience, for your audience when you speak, when you tell a story. The moral of the story, the lesson learned. And that is inspiration for you. And when you do it, you leave home because you have a challenge, then you struggle, and then you make it, and then you learn something which is inspiration. And with that, you come back home. And now he's not the underdog anymore, the nice little hobbit. Now he's the hero that Albert just talks about. Does the hero must be somebody else but me? And if you pay attention, it's C as I. I put the 12 stopovers of Joseph Campbell that nobody can remember in an entire lifetime. Nobody will ever remember 12 stopovers in this book. This is too much. Can you remember 12 stopovers? That's impossible. I put it into 3. C as I. Challenge, struggle, inspiration. And that is the hero's journey. That is Netflix. That is Nemo, Finding Nemo. The challenge, sun is gone. Luke Skywalker, the uncle, the whole planet is gone. He has to fight the Force. Alba, your question, back to your question. Does the hero must be somebody else but me? There are huge opinions in the market among trainers, speakers, professional speakers, Toastmasters, other organizations. I'm a great fan of MLK Jr. I have a dream. I don't care about other heroes in my journey. I make them heroes. I can talk well about them. I can do anything. But it's Alba who has to go through the challenge. Alba who has to suffer. Alba who has to make it. Alba has to learn something. Alba who makes coronavirus. And then she's back in Colombia. And Alba meets her family again. And she is the best family member of all times. It is Alba. How can you be the hero? How can somebody else be the hero? I don't want to talk about people. This is Wikipedia speeches, man. If you want to talk about others, watch movies. I don't need you as a speaker. I'm sorry. I'm getting very excited about this. So no story is complete without a take-home message. No speech without a message, John. A speech without a message is like Jesus Christ without a mission. My friend Tobias Rodriguez, great speaker, conflict mentor, super team builder, based in Barcelona. He always says that. And he wore the black robe for 9 years. He knows about Jesus. A story should have a message. Well, okay, let's put it this way. I can tell one story as a speaker. This is fair. You can tell one story. Could be. The story must have a message. But the message is the lesson learned. That is it. And what do you give it to the audience? What is the message you give to the audience? Based on that lesson learned, it's always the same. In a speech with a structure, we will get into structure in another call. Then, of course, a speech must have a message. But of course, I use stories within my speeches. Then the story is not the main message. It's supporting my message of the entire speech. Bit complicated, that topic. Guys, it's 30 minutes. It's been an absolute pleasure. And a message of when you don't have anything, when you don't have anything, you can always use this one. Because you asked me now about the message job. We are right now in the middle of a tremendous, tremendous issue. But when the shit hits the fan, my friends, keep smiling like I did on that lake when I was 15 years old, kissing Bean to the sound of Paradise City. Hasta la vista. Tomorrow's meeting is all on structure. Tomorrow is all on structure. I'm German. I can talk about structure. Have a great one.